The warning came just before launch. The human technician, Mason, stood near the bay door with a serious look on his face. His hands were shaking a little as he tapped on his datapad. Then looked up at the alien commander. Carell, she was tall, strong, and proud, with violet skin and silver eyes that glowed in low light. She did not like being told what to do, especially not by a human. Sector 7G is unstable, Mason said calmly. You go in, you might not come out. Carell raised an eyebrow, a small smirk on her face. And who told you that, human? Your ghost stories, she said with a soft laugh. Her crew laughed with her 3 other alien warriors in black and blue armor. Ready for a scouting mission, Mason didn't laugh. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. I've seen what happens. There, ships go dark, sensors break, and people hear things, see things. Things that should not exist. Carell turned away, waving her hand. We are not weak like your kind, human. We can handle shadows. Mason wanted to say more, but the doors were closing. He just whispered, you don't understand. My brother went in there. He never came back, but Carell had already walked into the ship moments later. Her ship, the Raxian Blade, rose from the launch pad and shot into deep space. The mission was simple. Scan the old mining colony in Sector 7G and report back. If anything valuable remained, it was abandoned long ago, after strange energy pulses made machines go wild. But Carell didn't believe in old warnings. She believed in proof, and the only way to find proof was to see it herself as the Raxian Blade entered the edge of Sector 7G. Carell leaned forward in her captain's chair. Scan everything. Let's end this little mystery, she said. At first, everything looked fine. Empty stars, cold debris fields, and dust clouds spinning slowly. But then, the ship's lights flickered. Just for a second, no one spoke, but they all felt that something was off. Commander, one of her crew said, our side scanner just reset. It shows the same asteroid 3 times. That's impossible, Carell said, standing up. Send a recon drone. The drone launched, flying into the black mist ahead. Its camera showed normal feed. Pathetic. Then a flash of a face, Carell's face, screaming. The screen went black. What was that? Another crew member asked, voice tight with fear. Carell stared at the screen, jaw tight. Replay it. The screen stayed black. File not found, the ship's AI said in a flat voice. Suddenly, the lights dimmed again. And one crew member's in screamed. They turned to see him floating off the floor. Eyes wide, body stiff. Then, just like that, he vanished into the air with a crack of light. Zine. Carell shouted, but there was nothing left, not even a trace on the sensors. The crew panicked, shouting, trying to regain control. Carell ordered shields up. Emergency warp ready, but the warp drive hummed strangely, then shut down. No power to jump. We are stuck, the AI said calmly, almost too calmly. Carell hit the console. This is impossible. We're not even that deep in. But Mason's voice echoed in her mind. You go in, you might not come out. Her second in command. Relock grabbed her arm. Commander, we need to leave now. Carell nodded, but as she turned to give the order, the comms crackled. A voice came through, broken and low. It was Zine's voice, whispering, why didn't you listen? Everyone froze. Trace the source. Carell yelled, but the AI replied, no source found. Signal is internal. The screen flickered again, showing a hallway, their hallway on the ship. Zine stood at the end, but something was wrong. His eyes were too dark, his mouth twisted into a grin that didn't belong to him. Carell grabbed her weapon and ran toward the hallway, her crew behind her, but when they reached the spot, there was no one there, just a strange mark on the wall. Like a burn in the shape of a hand, breathing heavy, Carell turned to her crew. Only to now, we hold position. Scan the core of this sector. Whatever is here is playing with us. Her crew didn't answer. They just stared at her with fear in their eyes. Then one said softly, "We should have listened to the human." Carell didn't respond, because in her heart, she was starting to believe. They were right. Carell opened her eyes slowly. Her body was floating, weightless. Red lights blinked weakly across the control room, and strange symbols scrolled across the ship's main screen, symbols she didn't recognize. She looked around, trying to remember where she was. The last thing she recalled was Zine vanishing and the hallway showing something wrong. Now, the ship was dead silent. Her two remaining crew members were nowhere to be seen. Only her breathing, heavy and fast, echoed in her helmet. Outside the window, there were no stars, just darkness, thick and endless. "Ship, report," she said, voice shaky. A long pause. Then the AI's voice replied, but it sounded slower, deeper. "Oh, main systems offline. Crew status unknown. Navigation corrupted." Carell tried to stand, grabbing the control panel. She pushed buttons, but nothing responded. One monitor suddenly blinked, showing her own face, staring straight into the camera. But she wasn't moving, and her reflection blinked. Even though she didn't, she stepped back, heart racing, end video feed. She ordered, but the screen stayed on. Then the reflection smiled at her. She slammed her fist into the monitor, and it shattered. Glass floated in the air, like frozen snow, spinning slowly. This wasn't just a system failure. This place, Sector 7G, was doing something to her mind. Carell left the command deck and walked through the corridors of her ship. Every hallway felt longer than before. Doors that were supposed to be locked were now open, and others that should lead to storage led to places she didn't recognize at one turn. She stepped into a room with walls covered in writings, in her own handwriting. Every message said the same thing. "Don't trust your eyes." She backed out quickly and turned the corner only to freeze in place. Zine stood in the hall, smiling gently, hands by his sides. "Zine," she whispered. He didn't move. His eyes were black voids, and his smile too wide to be natural. "Come with me, Commander," he said. His voice layered like 10 voices speaking at once. Carell raised her blaster. "Stay back." But he didn't even blink. Instead, his skin began to peel away in threads, revealing wires, sparks, and flickering lights beneath. He wasn't Zine. He was a memory, a shape built from her mind. She fired, and the figure exploded into mist. Disappearing in seconds, she stood there, trembling, her weapon still smoking. This place was alive. It was watching, learning, and playing with her thoughts. Sector 7G didn't just destroy ships. It unraveled reality. She ran to the ship's archive room, searching for logs or records. There, she found something strange. A new file appeared in the database. A voice recording labeled, "From Mason." She tapped play. Mason's voice filled the room. Soft, but steady. "Carell, if you're hearing this, then you didn't listen," he said. "I knew you wouldn't. That's why I left you this." He went on to explain everything. The strange signals, the distortions, the psychic pressure that grows the deeper you go. He had studied Sector 7G for years after his brother disappeared. But no one believed him. So he encoded survival data inside the ship's systems, triggered only if she entered the zone. "Carell, listen to me now," his voice said. "Don't follow the voices. Don't trust the lights. The ship will lie to you. Your memories will lie to you. Use logic, not sight, and never enter the room with the red light." The recording ended. Carell sat in silence, feeling her heart twist. Mason had cared more than she ever realized. He knew she would go anyway, and still tried to protect her. And now, she was all alone. Or so she thought. The ship lights suddenly turned white, cold and bright. A loud knock echoed from outside the ship's main airlock. 1, then 2, Then 3 knocks, slow and steady. "Who's there?" she shouted, grabbing her blaster again. A voice replied through the intercom. Her own voice, whispering softly, "You left me behind. Don't leave again." The airlock began to open on its own, even though she never gave the command. Sparks flew from the panel, and the AI began to repeat a word again and again. "Welcome, welcome, welcome." Carell screamed and ran to override the lock, slamming the emergency seal. The knocking stopped. But her hands were shaking badly now. She looked at the reflection on the metal wall. And once again her reflection didn't match her movements. It was smiling. She backed away, breathing fast, whispering Mason's words to herself. "Use logic, not sight. Don't trust the lights. Don't go into the red room." That's when she saw it, a red light glowing at the end of the corridor, slowly pulsing. Calling her name, and in her head, dozens of voices began whispering at once. In her language, in human language, in languages she didn't know. Carell fell to her knees, covering her ears. She had to get out, but the warp drive was dead. The crew was missing, and the ship was no longer under her control. Still, one thing was clear now. She should have listened to the human. The ship was falling apart, not on the outside, but inside. The walls shifted. The halls twisted like they were alive. Carell moved carefully, her weapon in her hand, her heart beating hard in her chest. The whispers hadn't stopped since. She saw the red light. They followed her, no matter where she went, echoing inside her mind. "Don't go forward," one voice said. "Come back to me," said another. Sounding like Zine, but Zine was gone, and Carell knew it. The voices weren't real, the images weren't real, and yet they felt real. Carell entered the backup core room, hoping it had power. The main ship systems were failing, but maybe he or she could find a way out, or at least a clue. The room was dark, except for a small, blinking light on the main console. A message was waiting to be played. It wasn't from her crew, and it wasn't from the AI. It was from Mason. Her breath caught as she reached for the console. She tapped the blinking button, and the screen lit up with Mason's face. Calm, but tired. His voice began to speak, soft and clear. "Carell," he said, "if you're seeing this, then you ignored my warning." A pause, then a sigh. "I knew you would. You're strong, fearless, stubborn, and that's why I liked you. But Sector 7G doesn't care about strength. It eats everything: fear, pride, even memories." Carell sat down slowly, eyes locked on the screen. Mason continued. "This message is my last try to help. I couldn't stop you from going in. But I can tell you how I survived longer than most." Listen carefully. The screen split, showing a map of the ship and the surrounding space. Mason pointed to certain zones, marking them red and blue. Sector 7G attacks your mind first. It will copy people you love or hate. It will change rooms to make you doubt yourself. But there's a pattern. It moves in waves. If you time your steps between pulses, you can reach the center, and the center is where the control core is. Carell's eyes widened. "The control core," she whispered. Mason's voice answered her thought like he was right there. "Yes, Sector 7G has a core. It pulls ships into it, feeds on their systems and their minds, but I believe if someone reaches the core and uploads a virus, it can shut down the loop. That's what this chip is for." The screen showed a digital code one Mason hid inside the ship's backup files. He had planted it weeks before the mission, just in case. Carell stared at the code, heart pounding. He did all this for her, even when she mocked him, even when she refused to listen. He still tried to protect her. Mason's voice grew softer now. "My brother. He didn't make it, but he left a message too. I listened to it too late, just like you are now. Maybe that's what Sector 7G wants, for us to suffer slowly." He looked down, then back at the screen. But maybe, just maybe, you can break the chain. The message ended, and the screen went dark again. Carell sat there in silence, the sound of her own breathing filling the room. She had come here thinking humans were weak. But it was a human who left her the only path out. She stood up and pulled the digital chip from the console. Placing it into her wrist port, the path to the control core would be hard, but now she had a direction, a real target, and she was done running from ghosts. As she left the room, she noticed something odd. The hallway no longer shifted. The lights no longer flickered. It was as if something inside the ship knew she had made a choice. The whispers faded, just a little, but not all was quiet. Suddenly, she heard a scream, a real one, not in her head. It came from the lower deck. Carell rushed down the metal stairs, passing broken panels and wires sparking in the medbay. She found one of her crewjal, alive but barely, tied to the wall by black cables that pulsed like veins. He looked up, eyes wide. "Commander." "It's inside me." Carell rushed to him, trying to pull the cables off. They hissed and burned her gloves, but she didn't stop. "Hold on, Jal," she said. "I'm getting you out of here." He shook his head, tears in his eyes. "No. It's too late for me, but you have to finish it. Go to the core." Carell's hands shook. She wanted to save him, to take him with her. But she knew he was right. Jal reached up with his last strength and gave her a small device. It's a memory recorder. From Relock, before he disappeared. Carell took the device, heart heavy, another one gone, another voice lost. But she had to keep moving. She uploaded the virus chip to her wrist console and opened the map. A red path lit up the way to the core, through the most twisted part of the ship. She looked back one last time, whispering, "Hold on, Mason. I'm coming to end this." Carell moved deeper into the ship. The lights above her flickered again, but now she didn't flinch. She held her blaster in one hand, the virus chip glowing on her wrist in the other. The path Mason showed her was clear, but it led into the dark heart of the Raxian blade, where no light had touched since they entered Sector 7G. Every step echoed through the metal halls. But the echo wasn't alone. It repeated back differently. Like something was walking behind her. She paused at a fork in the hallway. Her ship map said go left, but the right hallway now looked familiar. She squinted at it, and her breath caught in her throat. It wasn't just any hallway. It looked like a hallway from her childhood home on Kiris Prime, her family's old house, her mother's blue vase at the end. Broken, just like she remembered. "This isn't real," Carell whispered. "This is memory." But the scent hit her nose, a smell she hadn't felt in decades. Home-cooked food, warm spice, her mother's scent. Tears burned her eyes. But she turned away. This was the trap Mason warned her about. Sector 7G didn't just copy your thoughts. It used them against you. She followed the left path, the correct one, forcing herself to ignore the whispers behind her. As she walked, the walls grew colder, frost forming on the pipes. A new door appeared, one she didn't remember being there before. It was marked with a red symbol that pulsed softly, like a heartbeat. It wasn't part of any design. Her wrist console blinked caution. Unknown zone detected. Carell took a deep breath and opened the door. Inside was a small chamber, dimly lit. A chair sat in the center, with a figure in it, unmoving. As Carell stepped forward, the figure slowly raised its head. Her knees went weak. It was her. Another version of herself, older, worn down, eyes full of sadness. The double stood and walked forward, mirroring her every move. "You're too late," the copy said, voice hollow. "You think you can fix this? You already failed." Carell raised her blaster. "You're not me," the double laughed. A cold, bitter sound. "You left them. Rillick, Jal, even Zine. You mocked the one human who tried to save you. its face twisted with anger. You think you're the hero, but you're just the last survivor. Carell shot without hesitation. The image exploded into smoke. But the smoke formed words in the air. You will become me. Then it vanished completely. Carell's heart pounded in her chest. She left the room quickly, locking the door behind her. Her breathing was rough, sweat running down her neck. She tapped her wrist console to check her location. She was getting close to the control core maybe. 2 levels below it now, the next hallway looked normal again, but something felt off. It was too quiet. No whispers, no flickering lights, no voices in her head. That's when she saw the shadow move, just at the edge of her vision. She turned. Fast, weapon raised, but no one was there. Then a soft voice behind her said, Carell, please. Help me. She turned again and her jaw dropped. It was Mason. He stood in the middle of the hallway. No suit, no helmet, just like the day he said goodbye. His eyes were full of sadness. His arms open. I came for you. I followed you into Sector 7G. I couldn't let you die alone. Carell took a step forward, tears filling her eyes. She wanted to believe it. She wanted it more than anything. But she remembered what Mason said. It will show you what you want most. She stepped back, pointing the blaster at him. You're not real, she said, voice shaking. The image of Mason changed. His skin melted, face twisting into something hollow and broken. You still? Don't listen, it hissed. You will stay here forever, Carell, like all the others. She fired. And the image screamed as it faded into nothing. Carell dropped to her knees, exhausted, trembling. This place wanted to break her spirit. And for a moment, it almost did. She opened the small device. Jaw gave Herlax's final message. It played with static, his voice weak, but still clear. Commander, if you get this, I want you to know I believed in you. I always did. We joked. We fought, but I followed you because I trusted you. Don't let this place take your heart. Or your mind. End it. If you can. Carell closed her eyes and breathed deeply. The message gave her new strength. She stood up, clutching the virus chip tightly. She wasn't just trying to escape now. She was going to finish what Mason started, for Rillick, for Jal, for all the crews lost before her, and maybe for herself. The hallway lit up with a soft blue glow, and her wrist console pinged. Control core access detected, 1 level below. Carell walked forward. Slow but steady, her shadows danced behind her, whispers returning once again. But now, they didn't scare her. Now, they only made her stronger. Carell walked down the last hallway. Her feet moved slowly, but her mind was clear. She had faced ghosts, memories, voices that weren't hers. She was close to the heart of the ship, the core of Sector 7G's grip on them. The corridor was narrow and dark, frost cracking under her boots. Every step echoed like it was being recorded and played back in reverse. Her wrist console blinked again. Control core, 20 meters ahead. She took a deep breath, gripping the virus chip tightly. The plan was simple. Reach the control room, insert the chip, and upload the virus. But deep down, Carell knew nothing in this place was going to be simple. She turned the corner and stopped. A new door stood in front of her, large, white, and glowing softly. She checked the map. This door wasn't there. The ship layout didn't even show this part of the hallway. Above the door, a single word had been carved into the metal, glowing red. Home. Carell's heart skipped a beat. Her hand shook, not from fear, but from the flood of emotions that word brought. She hadn't seen her real home in years. She stepped closer, and the door opened without a sound. Inside, she saw a house, not a spaceship room, not a cold chamber, but a full house-like one on Earth. The lights were warm, golden, soft. A fireplace crackled gently, and the scent of food filled the air. She saw a table with 2 plates, and across from her sat Mason. he smiled. Peaceful, sit, he said. You've done enough. You can rest now. Carell froze in the doorway. Part of her wanted to believe it just sit, eat, sleep, forget the pain. But another part screamed inside her head. This was the final test. The trap she couldn't afford to fall into. I don't belong here, she whispered. This isn't real. Mason stood up, walking around the table. He touched her arm gently. You've fought enough. Let the others handle it. Carell looked into his eyes and saw her own reflection inside them. Her eyes looked tired, old, defeated. No, she said, pulling away. This is not rest. This is surrender. The room began to flicker, and Mason's face twisted. The fire turned black. The walls crumbled. Into dust. You were supposed to break. The illusion hissed. Why won't you break? Carell raised the virus chip and slammed it against the illusion. A burst of light surged through the room, and it vanished completely. The hallway reappeared. Cold and empty once again. Her wrist console now flashed. Virus detected core. Responding, she ran, faster now, boots pounding on the metal floor. The hallway bent upward like a spiral, pulling her toward the true control chamber as she reached the top. A large circular door opened with a deep hum. Blue lights lined the walls, and at the center was a giant pulsing orb of energy sector 7G's core. The core looked alive, like a beating heart made of stars and circuits. Wires and beams of light connected to it from every direction and around it were faces trapped in the walls, hundreds of them, some alien, some human, some half-formed, all staring blankly at her. Carell swallowed hard. Her grip tightened on the chip. And she stepped forward. The whispers came again, louder this time. Angrier, leave, they said. You are not welcome here. She ignored them. Walking straight to the interface console, the screen glowed red, warning her again and again, unauthorized presence. She placed the chip into the port and pressed upload. The lights in the room turned bright blue. The core began pulsing faster. Sparks flew, and the floor shook. Voices screamed in every direction, but not from her head, from the walls themselves. The virus was working. The grip of Sector 7G was breaking, but something hit her from behind. Throwing her to the floor, she rolled over, blaster ready. A twisted version of herself stood above her. With long claws and glowing red eyes, you don't belong. The creature growled, You're part of us now. Carell kicked it hard, fired 3 shots into its chest, and screamed, I am not yours. I never was. The creature vanished into smoke, and the upload bar reached 100%. The console flashed, virus installed, core breakdown in progress. The orb in the center cracked, light spilling from it like a small sun. The faces in the wall began to vanish one by one, and for the first time since entering Sector 7G, Carell felt quiet. The core trembled, sending out a pulse that shook the entire ship. Carell grabbed her console and ran back toward the exit. The ship was coming apart behind her. She raced through the hallways as lights exploded and steel walls bent. From pressure, she reached the emergency pod by only one pod remained. Without thinking, she jumped inside and launched. The pod shot out into space. Right as the Raxian blade exploded behind her in a wave of silent fire, the stars returned. The black mist was gone. Carell leaned back in the pod, closing her eyes. She had made it out, but the price was far from over. The stars looked normal again. Cold, distant, quiet. Carell floated inside the emergency pod, wrapped in silence. Her fingers trembled slightly as she checked the controls. She was out of Sector 7G, but not free. Not yet. The pod's navigation showed she was drifting near the border of human space. A beacon auto-activated, blinking bright blue, sending her signal to any ship nearby. She leaned back in her seat, trying to breathe. trying to calm the storm inside. Her mind? The ship was gone, her crew was gone, Mason was gone, but she was alive. The pod's small screen lit up. Incoming transmission, human salvage ship. Eclipse runner. Carell hesitated, then accepted the signal. A human voice came through. Female, calm and surprised. This is Commander Lee from the Eclipse runner. You're coming from Sector 7G. Please confirm. Carell leaned forward, voice rough. Confirmed. I'm Carell of the Kirin fleet. And I need help. There was a long pause, then Commander Lee replied, brace for pickup. We're bringing you aboard, the pod. Shook gently as the human ship pulled it in when the doors opened. Carell stepped out slowly, her legs weak. The humans looked at her with wide eyes. They knew what Sector 7G was. No one had returned from it in years. They led her to the medbay, scanned her body, checked her vitals. Physically, she was fine. Some bruises, some burns. Nothing life-threatening, but mentally. Something was wrong. She kept hearing echoes, whispers not loud, just soft. Like they were hiding in the corners of her mind. One of the doctors gave her a look of concern. Ma'am, your brain scan is strange. Some parts are showing dual activity. What do you mean? Carell asked, sitting up. He showed her the scan 2 wave patterns in her mind. Not one. One was clearly hers. The other looked human. I don't know what this means, the doctor said. But whatever Sector 7G did to Yuet left a mark. Carell touched the back of her neck. She could still feel something there, like static under her skin. Her dreams had changed too. When she closed her eyes, she saw Mason not just memories, but new things. Conversations they never had. Feelings she never shared. It was like part of him had followed her out later that night. Carell sat in a private room the humans gave her. She pulled out her wrist console and connected to the ship's archive. She typed one word into the search. Mason, no results. She tried again with full name, rank, and mission ID. Still nothing. She asked the crew, but no one had ever heard of a technician named Mason working in their fleet. He wasn't in their system, not even in old records, like he never existed at all. Carell's hands tightened into fists. I talked to him. I saw him. I have his message saved. But when she opened the files from her wrist console, the folder was gone. No message, no video, no virus code. Just one file remained. A short audio clip, only 2 seconds long. She pressed play. It was Mason's voice whispering, "You're not alone anymore." She sat in silence, her eyes wide. A chill ran down her spine. Had Sector 7G erased him completely? Or had it fused them somehow? In the days that followed, Carell began noticing other changes. She moved faster. Her reaction time improved, her memory sharper. She could calculate complex routes in her head like a human AI. The crew of the Eclipse runner grew more curious and more afraid. They watched her like she was a walking mystery. One night, she woke up speaking in English fluently. She had never studied it fully before, but now she knew it perfectly. Words Mason once used came easily to her lips. Thoughts she never had before now guided her actions. She went to the ship's observation deck and stared at the stars. The human commander approached her quietly, standing beside her. "We ran your DNA again," she said softly. "There's something else in it now, something that wasn't there before." Carell didn't look away from the stars. She already knew. Sector 7G hadn't just broken her ship or killed her crew. It had touched her soul, and in return, she had taken something from it. Something human, something. Mason. She placed a hand on the glass, watching a nearby planet spin slowly below. "I think he's still with me," she whispered. "Not a ghost, not a dream, but part of who I am now." The commander didn't answer. She only nodded slowly, then walked away. Carell closed her eyes and listened. For a moment, There was only silence. Then she heard it just once, deep in her mind, a voice, warm and familiar. "You did good, Carell," she smiled. Whatever she had become, she wasn't afraid anymore. Carell sat under the stars, her back resting against a smooth stone wall on Earth's moon base. It had been many cycles since she escaped Sector 7G, since the world she knew was shattered. And something inside her was changed forever. Now, people called her the one who returned. But the truth was, she had never fully come back. Scientists, commanders, alien leaders from many worlds tried to understand her. They studied her blood, her brain, her behavior. They asked questions, ran tests, and whispered behind closed doors, but none of them understood what she carried. Because the thing she brought back wasn't just data or energy, it was a connection to a place that still whispered in the dark. Each night, Carell heard faint sounds in her mind, not screams or warnings anymore, but voices soft, distant. Sometimes she heard her name, sometimes Mason's voice repeating old words. Sometimes she heard her own thoughts before she even thought them, as if she was thinking in two minds, now hers and someone else's. And yet, she kept silent, not out of fear, but out of purpose. The War Council had called her many times to speak, to share her story, but she only told them half the truth. She told them Sector 7G was dangerous, that it must stay sealed, but she didn't tell them it was alive. One evening, a group of cadets came to her. One asked, "What really happened in there?" Another whispered, "Did you see the dead? Did they speak to you?" Carell looked at their young faces and said simply, "Yes and no. They weren't dead, not really. They were trapped in a dream that never ends, and if I hadn't left, I'd still be dreaming with them." The cadets stayed quiet after that. They didn't understand. Not yet. But maybe one day they would. Maybe one day someone else would be foolish enough to go back in. She hoped not. She prayed not. On the day of her official recognition ceremony, thousands gathered. Alien races stood beside humans, honoring the first being to return from the cursed zone. Flags flew, speeches were given, awards handed over. Carell stood silently through it all, her expression calm when they asked her to speak. She walked to the podium and stared at the sea of faces. Her voice was clear, steady. "Many of you think I'm brave," she said, "but bravery didn't save me. I didn't escape because I fought harder. I escaped because someone else believed in me when I didn't believe in him." The crowd listened closely as she continued. "There was a human, a technician, not a soldier. He warned me not to go. But I didn't listen, and when I fell into the dark, he left behind a path for me to climb out." A quiet hush filled the air. Carell paused, her voice dropping slightly. "I paid a price," she said. "Not just in crew, not just in blood, but in truth. I can't see the world the way I used to. I don't sleep the way I used to. I don't even think the way I used to." She looked up at the stars then. "They say I made it out," she whispered. "But part of me never did." The applause was loud, but Carell barely heard it. Her thoughts were far away, somewhere in the void between systems, where a forgotten zone still pulsed, still watching. Weeks later, she walked alone on Earth's quiet fields. She stopped at a hill where humans had placed a simple memorial stone. No name, no rank, just a symbol carved into it, Mason's favorite mark, a spiral inside a triangle. It was placed there by her request. She sat beside it, her hand brushing over the cool stone. "I don't know if you were real," she said quietly. "Maybe Sector 7G made you. Maybe not, but you mattered. You changed me." The wind whispered through the trees, and in that moment, Carell swore she heard a faint reply. "So did you." She smiled, but her eyes were wet. She stayed there until the twin suns dipped below the edge of the horizon. Then she stood and walked away. Behind her, the wind blew across the stone again, and for a brief moment, the spiral glowed faintly.